What if the hardest part of your day happens before your feet even touch the floor? Some people wake up feeling ready. Some wake up with purpose. And some wake up already feeling defeated. Daniel was 35 years old. He worked as an accountant. He had a steady income, a normal apartment, and a girlfriend who cared about him. From the outside, his life looked stable. Nothing seemed broken. But every morning told a different story. The moment Daniel opened his eyes, a heavy feeling would hit him. Not fear, not panic, just a deep, familiar weight, a quiet sense of dread. Before the day even began, his mind was already against it. He would stare at the ceiling and think about everything he didn't want to face. Another long day, another routine, another morning of pretending he was okay. And the strangest part was, he knew his life was not bad. He had a job. He had security. He had someone who loved him. But none of that seemed to matter in those first few minutes after waking up, because negativity had become automatic. It was the first thing he felt in the morning, and the last thing he carried into the night. While getting ready for work, his mind would search for problems, things to worry about, things to complain about, things to resent. On the drive to work, he noticed traffic, noise, stress, pressure. His focus always landed on what was wrong, and slowly, without realizing it, Daniel stopped seeing life clearly. He was seeing everything through the lens of his own heaviness. Days passed, then weeks, then months, and after living like this long enough, he stopped asking why. He started telling himself something dangerous. Maybe this is just who I am. Maybe I'm not a positive person. Maybe I'm just someone who gets through life. Instead of enjoying it, at work, he still functioned. He answered emails. He met deadlines. He did what needed to be done. But inside, he felt empty. He smiled when required. He spoke when necessary. But joy was gone. And whenever someone asked how he was doing, he gave the same answer. I'm fine, just tired. But he wasn't just tired. He was trapped in a mindset he no longer knew how to escape. And the person who felt it most was Sarah. She had seen the pattern for a long time. At first, she thought he was stressed. Then, she thought work was draining him. But eventually, she understood the truth. This wasn't temporary. This was the way Daniel had started living. The negativity, the emotional distance, the constant heaviness. It followed him everywhere. Sarah tried to help. She tried to encourage him. She tried to bring light into his life. But Daniel kept falling back into the same darkness. Not because he wanted to, but because he had lived there for so long. It felt normal. And that was the real danger. When pain becomes familiar, you stop trying to change it, but every pattern has a breaking point. And Daniel's was coming, because very soon, someone he loved was about to say something he could no longer ignore. You can ignore a lot of things in life: stress, bad habits, even your own unhappiness. But eventually, the people closest to you feel it too. For Daniel, that moment came at home. It wasn't a huge fight. No screaming, no slammed doors. That almost made it worse, because when Sarah finally said what she had been holding in, her voice was calm, tired, honest. She looked at him and said, "I can't keep living like this." That sentence hit harder than any argument ever could. Daniel froze, because deep down, he knew exactly what she meant. It wasn't about one bad day. It wasn't about stress at work. It was about the version of him she had been living with for far too long. The man who woke up unhappy. The man who always seemed emotionally distant. The man who walked into every room carrying this invisible storm. Sarah wasn't asking for perfection. She wasn't expecting him to be happy every second. She just couldn't keep drowning in energy that felt dark every single day. And for the first time, Daniel stopped defending himself. He stopped making excuses, stopped blaming work, stopped saying, "I'm just tired." Because the truth was finally standing right in front of him. This wasn't just affecting him anymore. It was damaging the people he loved. That night, Daniel barely slept. Sarah's words kept replaying in his mind, not in an angry way, in a painful way, because he realized something most people avoid admitting. If you don't deal with what's happening inside you, it leaks into everything around you. Your relationships, your peace, your future. By the next morning, Daniel felt broken open. And instead of staying in bed like usual, he did something different. He got up early, put on a jacket, and walked outside before the city fully woke up. The streets were quiet, the air was cold, everything felt still. No emails, no traffic, no noise, just him. And the weight he had been carrying for way too long. He didn't really have a destination, he just walked. Almost like his body needed movement because his mind had nowhere left to hide. Eventually, he found himself near a small park. Nothing fancy, just benches, trees, a walking path, and the kind of silence that makes you hear your own thoughts louder. Daniel sat down for a moment, leaned forward, and stared at the ground. And then, something unexpected happened. An older man sitting nearby noticed him. Not in a dramatic way, not like he had been watching him. More like he recognized that look. The look of someone who is tired in a way sleep can't fix. After a moment, the man spoke. Not with pressure, not with judgment. Just a simple question. "Rough morning?" Daniel let out a quiet laugh, the kind people give when they're too exhausted to pretend anymore. And for some reason, he answered honestly. He admitted that mornings had become the worst part of his life, that every day started heavy, that he was tired of feeling stuck, that he didn't even know why he felt this way anymore. The older man listened carefully. No interrupting, no fake advice, no motivational speech, just calm attention. And when Daniel finished, the man said something that stopped him cold. He said, "Maybe you've trained your mind to search for what's wrong." Daniel looked up. Because that idea had never crossed his mind before. What if this wasn't just his personality? What if it was a pattern, a habit, a mental routine he had repeated so many times it started feeling permanent? The old man told him something simple, but powerful. He said happiness is not something you finally arrive at one day. It's something you practice, something you build, something you train. Daniel didn't fully understand it yet, but for the first time in a long time, he felt something shift. Not joy, not relief, just curiosity. And sometimes that's where change begins, because what the old man told him next was so simple it sounded almost too small to work. The old man didn't give Daniel a long lecture. He didn't hand him a book. He didn't tell him to quit his job, move away, or just think positive. Instead, he gave him something so simple, it almost sounded ridiculous. He said, "Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you start your day, write down 3 things you're grateful for." That was it. 3 things, not 10. Not some perfect morning routine. Just 3 real things. And there was one rule. They had to be specific, not vague answers like, "I'm grateful for life." Not things people say because they sound nice. Real things, concrete things, something true, something visible, something from his actual life. The old man explained it like this. If your mind has been trained to scan for problems, then you have to train it to notice what's still good. Not because life is perfect, but because your attention shapes your experience. That idea stayed with Daniel. Your attention shapes your experience. For years, his mind had been waking up and immediately searching for stress, pressure, annoyance, disappointment. So of course, that's what kept growing. That's what he was feeding. The old man wasn't telling him to deny pain. He wasn't saying, "Pretend everything is amazing." He was saying something much more realistic. You may not control every circumstance in your life, but you do have some control over what your mind looks for first. The next morning, Daniel remembered the challenge. And honestly, he didn't feel inspired. He didn't wake up transformed. He didn't sit up in bed with some powerful new mindset. He still felt the usual heaviness, still felt resistance, still felt that familiar urge to grab his phone and disappear into distraction. But this time, he stopped himself. He reached for a notebook instead. Just a plain notebook. No app, no glowing screen, no notifications, no scrolling, just paper, a pen, and a blank page. At first, he sat there feeling stupid. Seriously. 3 things that was supposed to change his life? But he had nothing to lose, so he started writing. The first thing was small. The fact that he had a bed to sleep in. Then he wrote that Sarah was still there. Even after everything, she was still there. And then, after a long pause, he wrote down the smell of coffee waiting in the kitchen. That was day 1. No magic, no breakthrough, no sudden wave of happiness. Just 3 sentences on a page. And if you had looked at Daniel in that moment, you probably wouldn't have seen any change at all. But something had happened. For the first time in a long time, his mind had been interrupted. The usual pattern had been broken, even if only for a minute. The next day, he did it again. And it was still awkward, still forced, still felt unnatural. Some mornings he stared at the page like it had personally offended him. Some mornings he almost gave up before he even started. Because that's the part nobody talks about. Real change is usually boring in the beginning. It doesn't feel powerful at first. It feels repetitive, uncomfortable, even pointless. But Daniel kept going. He wrote about warm sunlight coming through the window, about having working legs to walk on, about the cashier who smiled at him, about clean water, about Sarah's laugh, about finishing a hard day, about music in the car, little things, ordinary things, things he used to overlook completely. And slowly, something started changing, not around him, inside him. His problems didn't disappear. Work was still work. Stress still existed. Life was still messy. But the way he entered the day started becoming less hostile, less heavy, less automatic. Because every morning he was teaching his mind a new direction, not fantasy, not denial, just a different place to begin. And over time, beginnings matter. Because how you start something often shapes how you carry it. Daniel wasn't becoming a different person overnight, but he was proving something important. Your mind can be trained, your focus can be redirected, and the smallest habits repeated daily and can begin to loosen patterns that once felt permanent. But the real surprise came weeks later. When Daniel realized the practice wasn't just changing his mornings, it was changing the way he saw his entire life. By the 3rd week, something strange started happening. Daniel's life looked mostly the same on the outside. Same apartment, same job, same responsibilities, same unfinished problems waiting for him each day. But inside, he was no longer waking up the same person. The first few days of gratitude had felt forced. The first week felt awkward. The second week felt inconsistent. But somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like a task and started feeling real. He no longer sat there trying to invent things to write. Now things were showing up naturally. A quiet morning, a good conversation, the way sunlight hit the wall, a message from Sarah, a meal he enjoyed, a peaceful drive to work. Moments he used to rush past were suddenly becoming visible. And that was the shift. Life had not become perfect. And Daniel had simply stopped overlooking the good. For years, his mind had been trained to notice what was missing, what was late, what was unfair, what was frustrating, what might go wrong next. Now, little by little, his attention was learning a new habit. To notice what was still working, what was still present, what was still worth appreciating. And once that changed, his entire emotional world began to change with it. He became calmer, less reactive, less drained by small annoyances. Things that used to ruin his whole morning started losing their power. Traffic was still traffic. Work was still stressful sometimes. Life still had setbacks, but those things no longer controlled where his mind lived. That was the lesson Daniel had been missing all along. You may not control everything that happens to you. Yeah, but you do have a say in what gets the first piece of your attention, and whatever gets your attention consistently begins to shape your reality. That realization changed more than his mornings. It changed the way he spoke, the way he listened, the way he showed up around other people. Sarah noticed it before he did. He was softer, more present, less distant. The heaviness that used to fill the room with him was finally starting to lift. Not because he had become fake, not because he was pretending to be positive, but because for the first time in a long time, he was no longer feeding the darkness first thing every morning. And here's what made it powerful. The practice only took 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's all. No expensive program, no dramatic life reset, no perfect conditions, just a notebook, a pen, and a decision to begin differently. After 30 days, Daniel understood something deeply. Happiness is not something you wait for. It's not hiding in the future. It's not waiting for the perfect job, the perfect relationship, or the perfect life. It starts much smaller than that. It starts with attention, with practice, with choosing every day what kind of thoughts you want to strengthen. Because whatever you repeat, you reinforce. And whatever you reinforce begins to define you. So if you wake up every morning feeling heavy, discouraged, or stuck, maybe the answer isn't to change your whole life overnight. Maybe the answer is to change what your mind touches first. Before your phone, before the stress, before the noise. Take out a notebook. Write down 3 real things you're grateful for. Keep them specific. Keep them honest. Keep going for 30 days, not because it will make life perfect, but because it might train your mind to finally see that even in an imperfect life, there's still good worth noticing. And sometimes, that small shift in focus is where a whole new life begins. Try it for 30 days. Not on your phone, not in your notes app, in a real notebook. 3 things every morning, and see what happens when you stop starting your day with what's wrong and start training your mind to notice what's right.